Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining me if you're there today. If you're not there today, obviously, that's not my problem at all, I'm afraid. Okay, as usual, drop me a hashtag live if you're watching me live today. Come back and hashtag replay if you're watching me later on a replay at all. As usual, I'll be uploading the video probably later on today or tomorrow onto my YouTube channel, so you can catch it on there, and also it's always going to be available on my Facebook page to come back to and watch again. So the promise for today was to take a bit of a dive into JoomShaper PageBuilder version 4, which the alpha version was released a couple of weeks ago, and they released the version 2 of the alpha yesterday, which I've now got installed onto Joomla 4 testbed. The most controversial part of this one is there is no more back-end editing of your pages. I know I'm a one that's shouted about that a little bit myself. I have used the back-end editing almost exclusively now for 6 or 7 years since I first came across the page builder a long time ago now. So for me, it's going to be quite a change in terms of how I work, and I'm also conscious of my clients who will at some point have to learn when they edit at their own sites, which quite a few of them do. That's going to be a big change for them as well, because at the moment the majority edit them in the back end. So Joomla 4, if you're familiar with it, there's the dashboard in there. I've installed PageBuilder for Alpha 2 earlier on today and had a look through. So how does it look? Okay, let me just log in again because it's timed out. By the way, let me know how the audio is on this one. I've got a brand new microphone running today. I've never used it before this week, and I've not heard any feedback from it. Not as in feedback from the speakers, but feedback from you guys listening. So I'm hoping it's a bit better. Let me know what you think in the comments, and hopefully that'll be a positive thing. So backend of PageBuilder now looks like this one, and we can literally either click on Get Started or straight into Create a New Page. If I go into, let's have a start off. Where are the settings in this one? So there we are, settings icon, and this now pops out into a front end. Wow, interesting. This worked from before. So this is my third time using it, so let's just see what happens. Let's click on the Get Started one and go to that one. So now what we see now, this is basically, although it maybe doesn't look like it, this is the front end of the website. You can tell that by the URL. It's no longer got administrator in the top, and I guess it looks similar to what we had before. We've got our pages listed. What I realized with this one, which is quite nice, is you can actually drag and drop the order of these. I did find the sort of the old one. You'd go back into the page listings and it'd be back to some random list order of the pages, and you could sort that, but it would go back to the standard weird layout when you came back to it. This one lets you drag and drop, which I think is quite nice, because there are often pages that I edit frequently, and if I can drag them to the top of the list, easier for me to then find them. On the left hand side, we've got a list of all the add-ons available, and what you can do with 4 is actually disable some of these. So if you don't use them on your site, you can turn them off so that they're not available to see in the editor. Now, what I haven't checked on, and I certainly will do, there's been a lot of people asking for the CSS to be removed from the front end for add-ons that are not being used, because by default JoomShaper PageBuilder loads the entire CSS base for all of its add-ons on every page, and obviously if you're only using a handful, that is quite a lot of code that you don't need to be showing up on your site. Now, part of this will be for simplicity, because if you don't use half of these on your site and you want to come back and edit and change, it's quicker to find the add-ons you want. But I'm hoping it would be nice if when you turn one of these off, if it actually drops the CSS out of the site. I don't know that yet, but I will look into that one myself. We've got a few new ones. There's a lot of similarities we've got before. We've got the modules, the maps, headings, raw HTML, that sort of stuff. We've got columns now, where you can literally add a column set to a row, and configure that a little bit differently to the way you would do that within a row column setting in the past. Hello Alicia, how are you doing? Popping in quick, say hi. I'm having a great day. I'm having a great day, and I've got some coffee, which is a rare treat for me. I felt like I needed some today, which is unusual. What else have we got? I know for definite we've got a Lottie So if anybody's familiar with the Lottie animations you can build online, you can now embed those directly into PageBuilder without any extra code, which is quite nice. I don't think there's any major other ones in there. I think they're relatively similar or the same as we had before. You know, all of these bits, if anyone's seen it before, you're familiar with these ones yourselves. What you can add now is your own custom icons. So if you've got your own that you built, it does state they need to be built using Icofont, Icomoon and Fontello. I've never used these myself, but for those that might want to, it obviously saves you having to upload them into images, and then they're not icons, they're not the same type of file type. And then once you've uploaded those, you can then select them from any of the add-ons that allow icon support. Integrations, still got article integration available, which I'm going to enable there now. That means you can build a Joomla native Joomla article using the PageBuilder editor rather than the Joomla editor. I'll have a look at that today if I can. I've not used it on 4 before, but I have used it quite frequently with Joomla 3 and PageBuilder 3, and it is genuinely good, to be honest. I find that really useful. Languages, same before, you can install a language support into this if you need to. And the settings, they're all the same as they were. I don't think there's any new ones in here. All the usual ones we've got in there: font awesome on or off, lazy load for images, open graph you can disable and turn off, and again your license and update keys just go in the settings at the back. You can then update that within the Joomla update process without having to download the update every time. So that's the back end. Now what I did notice, and I'm hoping they may well fix this, if I go to the top and I close this down, it actually keeps me in the front end, which is a slightly frustrating point because I would rather that drop me back to where I came from. I've still got it open here. I've got to go back and get started again if I want to do that one. But anyway, by the by. So how does it look as an editor? So let's look at my home page. This is just an empty site, literally nothing in it apart from 2 pages I've created already. And I can, as usual, oh, there's a little one. You can, I don't know whether this was there in 3. I didn't use it if it was, but you can actually add a page to a menu straight from PageBuilder now, which is, I guess, a nice addition. I do like to see all of the menu configuration options in the normal Joomla menu editor for page titles and all that type of stuff. However, it might be useful for some of you to be able to do that one. So if I click the edit, have a look back at comments. We got any new comments yet? K2, that may well be coming, Fernando. I've not used that myself. I'm vaguely got a memory that K2 itself hasn't been updated for a long time, but maybe I'm imagining that memory. It might not be the true one. It may well be on the way. As I said, this is literally alpha 2. Normally I would expect them to go through the alpha stage, which is really new. Beta, when they're trying to nail it all down fully, and then you'll have a release candidate, at which point, if they are going to have integration for K2, I would expect that to be into that beta and release candidate stage, not the alphas at the beginning. This is literally here for testing and playing around with and looking at, as opposed to, caveat, do not install it on a live site. I would not recommend that whatsoever. It is not finished. There will be bugs, there will be issues, and you don't want to be doing that on a live site. This is for testing only until it's at least, well, definitely on release, not release candidate even, if you can get away with it. So editor, what we've got now is we've actually got 5 breakpoints available to us, which I know a lot of people have been asking for. So we've got desktop, we've got laptop screen, which will be, I guess, smaller. We've got tablet in landscape mode, tablet in portrait mode, and the same for phone, landscape and portrait. Now these are, I think, really useful. I get a lot of layout tweaks, which in PageBuilder 3 you could only apply to basically desktop, normal tablet layout, portrait and phone portrait. To mess around with the landscape, I've had a one today where I've had to go back in. Often the tablet landscape view, because of the resolutions of tablets nowadays, they will pick up the desktop style. Whereas now we've actually got the ability to look at the breakpoints across 6 device layout screen sizes, which is really good. I'll see how that pans out. What it does obviously mean is we've now got a bit more complexity as a builder. When we're actually designing and building websites, now we've got to be we've got more steps to consider. We haven't just got layouts to worry about for those 3. We've now got 6. So it'll be interesting to see how those settings all pan out into the rows and configuration stuff in there. No more comments, let's keep going. So literally the same as it was before. I'm going to add a new row, and again I can do these are what I haven't got there yet. I notice there's no custom option, but I can import a block. Usually we've got a custom option. I wonder if that's what the new column add-on is for. Usually I'll just literally do a custom row, and as long as it added up to 12. By the by, let's pick one and put it in. So again, same as it used to look like. I guess in terms of those that are used to the backend editor, it's the same really. You've got 3 columns in your row now, and you can literally click a plus and pop an add-on in. Let's go for an image. Have I got search? Yeah, we've got search. Image content, and I'm going to drag and drop that into there. If I click it, I can do the same. I can copy, I can drag it, I can copy, I can drag it, I can save that now. I guess in terms of now, I used to have 2 tabs open all the time, or 2 screens. I've got a laptop and a monitor next to it as well. I just find it a little bit nicer to use on back, but I'll get there. I guess again, so now the row settings are here, so we can change the row padding at the top. Interesting enough, that gets to a certain point. Here's a little bug for you. The pixels disappear at 40. Can't see the value, and I guess the same at the bottom. Yeah, 40. But we can go to row settings as usual, row options, and in the, why is it not? I see, this is the one. This is where all these little finicky alpha bugs start to come in. So what I was expecting to see there is that the margins were then set to what I set them to, and it's not doing that, is it? And do they change? So this is showing me, this is interesting. Even though this is actually looking at me on a laptop, on a monitor, it's classing me as a laptop because it's running off a laptop, I am guessing. I don't know how it distinguishes between the two. So yeah, we've now, as I click the different layout choices at the top, you can see these values in the boxes apply only to that, like that layout. So in the past, on the padding section on the back end, you had the little icons here, which you could click to choose between laptop, normal screen, tablet and phone. We've now got this along the top, so if we want to change all of these, we have got control over all 6 breakpoints, which is good. So this is where now, if I want to take all that out, I can still lock it and just delete one, and they'll all go. It's not applying those to there though. What that should do is remove that gap, unless it's to do with it being. It has. There's still a little bit there. I want to get rid of that little gap at the top. I wonder what that is. Because there's nothing applied anywhere. Padding. I don't suppose it needs to be 0, does it? Let's have a look. Yeah, still got it in. Interesting. It's still got a little bit of an element there. I've seen this actually in the. What I noticed is if I edit this image. Yeah, so for whatever reason, and again, I'm assuming this might be by default for a reason, but normally the margin in PageBuilder 3 on any add-on was 0, 0, 30px at the bottom, and 0 for the left and right and top. These now, PageBuilder 4 at the moment is setting all those to 10 at the top and bottom, and then that is why on there I was getting a gap above that image. That's interesting. So that is one. I don't know whether that's on purpose. That might be an alpha accident that doesn't need to be in. Same for that one. I'm going to take all that out. And is that the same across them all? No, that has adjusted it only for that one. Okay. So yeah, one or two little changes there for interest. You know, that even there has still got that little gap at the bottom, which shouldn't technically have in my mind. That should literally hit the bottom of that element, and the top there shouldn't be a gap. So there's something definitely in this build still where there's a little bit of a weird layout setting in there. But other than that, in terms of the actual add-ons themselves, I click it. Where's it gone? That one. See, even there now, what's gone? Oh, that's the edit for that one. Has moved across to the left-hand side. So there we go. We've got the same things. We've got padding. We've got the advanced. We can do custom position, hidden on desktop, mobile, tablet. Interesting, that doesn't reflect these. So it must be applying desktop to laptop and desktop and then tablet to them all. We can still set access levels. We can set a label on that if we want to, so that when we're looking at it in the layers, which is new, which I'll show you in a minute, we can see which is which. What you can do, if you've noticed it on here, I've got a little, I'm going to go back to that one, the option here to have this all floating around, or I can left dock it, or I can now also right dock it as well. I'm hoping I've never had this issue myself, but I know one or two people I've seen report the fact that this editing section on lower resolutions doesn't have the scroll bar. I've got a scroll bar there now to move up and down. I'm hoping they've resolved that for everybody in terms of the builder, because I know that was an issue for people with smaller screens. Any more comments going in there? Resize columns, I believe so. I've never used the columns in this yet, but let's have a look. I'll just put that back floating again. If I go back to add-ons and I do columns, I'm going to add a new row first. Let's just do a 12. Drop the columns in. Yeah, you can. It seems to let me do it. I don't know why it's not saving that when I do. Do I need something in there first? Let's just copy that. Let's just see what happens. And again. That should work, but it's not. I know I've seen this on the video where it lets you resize that column, but why is it? It's not letting me do it. And that's applying to, so it should do. Interesting enough for now, that's percentage, which is quite an interesting way of doing it. But I have seen that and it looks like it's going to be there, but just not quite right. What we've got now is we've got layers. So I know in the past I've struggled. If we've got a page here with loads of add-ons on, maybe some of them are set that overlap others, you've got some disabled rows, disabled add-ons, it can look a bit messy. What we've got in layers now is you can see the sections on the page. So the canvas is literally the page. We've got the top section, which is 3 columns, which is these two. If I go back in there and I can do, I believe, section ID hero, and I do save for the sake of it, I think in layers now, I would have expected that to be renamed. But I can rename it there. I don't know why it doesn't pick it up off the other one. But anyway, hero, I've got my 3 columns. And as I expand, so again, I can go to that column and I can look at the column settings from the layers. I can also go to the column on the left and look at image 1 and do, oh, I haven't got settings for that one. I've obviously got settings for the column, but I haven't got settings for the image. But I can click on that one, and as you can see, it pops the editor up. If I go to that one, click on it, it pops the editor up onto there. So now if you've got a lot of things on here, you can rename them in there. You'd think that that would pick up from there, wouldn't you? See, it has actually, yeah. So that's called, that top left one is called image 1. If I go to that one and do advanced admin label image 2, where's my delete key gone? To image 2, and go to my layers, hero, column. Yeah, so now that has reflected across, so I know which is which here. If I click it, it moves the editing option to the add-on I've clicked on. So that I think is actually a really nice setup on there. And in terms of client access, which will be interesting to see. I guess if you're telling them what to do and how to edit things, you could literally say go to the hero column 1 and then image 1 and click it, and it'll see the editing and whatever. Some of them are going to like it, some of them aren't. We've still got the same layout option, so we can do the layout bundles. I haven't tried these on PageBuilder 4 yet, to be honest. I don't tend to use them now because all of our sites are bespoke. But there are some nice ones in there that you might want to use for your own sites if you wish to. We've still got all the blocks of the different slideshows and hero section layouts that we can literally drag and drop onto the home page if you wanted to. All sorts of bits and bobs you can add in if you want as well. Blend mode. Still never quite got my head around blend mode, to be fair, but never mind. Saved items, so again, you can still save your own sections. If you've got a nice row you want to do there, you can save that as test section and save it. So now if I go to my layouts and saved items, I've got that one. I can insert it and it literally creates a copy of that one already. So if you reuse the same layout on multiple pages, you can save it on the first one and then bring it into the second one. Yeah, I think, Richard, I think you're right. It's going to take a bit of getting used to for those of us that are certainly back-end editors. I know it's just how I work and have worked. However, they've had so much, so many negative comments about that idea in the beginning when they first announced it for PageBuilder 4, that I think they have taken that on board in terms of how it all behaves. The layers certainly will help an awful lot in that respect, I think, for knowing exactly what or what. I think if you're running your own site on your own, it's probably going to be an easier one than if you're managing multiple sites for clients like I am. I'm going to have to retrain the majority of those that use their own editing on their own websites to use this when it is available. I've got a similar one for a blog extension that I use exclusively on all sites that want a blog, and they've just updated to version 6 and it is fairly different to what it was before, so I'm going to have to do some training videos on that one to bring it all up to date. Few little bits and bobs in a media manager now. We can now actually rename images, which is interesting, and I think we can multiple select and multiple delete, which I think we couldn't do in PageBuilder 4, but we can rename them. Now this I don't believe we could do that before. Often if you uploaded an image with the same name as another one into the same date, as in on the same date, it would just add one to the file name. Sometimes that wasn't ideal. I think what I'd love to see in here, although it's part of Joomla 4 itself natively, I'd love to see the ability to click on that and do edit and have that image open up in the Joomla image editor, because that allows you to resize it, crop it, change the quality level on JPEGs. And I think for many clients of mine, certainly that upload images which are huge, I no longer have to say, oh, go into your download this bit of software and install it and do this, that and the other before. This I think would be, I don't even know if it's possible to do, but if there was an edit option on there that they could edit it in the Joomla 4 image editor, that I think would be extremely useful to do. It does categorize them still, so we've still got images in one, videos if you have them in another, audio files, attachments, and this is what we're back to. These are the Joomla native Joomla image folders. We can rename them, which is interesting. I do think I would like to see the ability. Oh, yeah, I've got create new folder as well. Interesting. Okay, that's good. Yeah, again, edit on there would be really nice. If anybody's not seen the Joomla 4 editor, I'll maybe have a touch on that one. Other than that, options, again, got title, got category if you ever use it. I've never actually worked out what categories for in JoomShaper PageBuilder. I don't know how you refer to them on the front end, unless I'm missing something. Page CSS, as always, we've got custom CSS for that page. This is new. We used to have in the options for each page, we just had the Facebook Open Graph data. We've now got the meta description and the keywords. Don't use keywords, but never mind. I would normally set that on the menu level of a menu item. It looks like they brought it into the page itself. I guess in terms of, I don't know how that gets used yet. I presume it overrides the menu, or if there's not one set at menu level, it's set here. Whether I'll ever use that, I don't know, but certainly I always use, if I can, open graph title, image to that one, and the description, because if you share that page URL onto Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, whatever, it will pull those three through into that post on the share, and you can pretty much guarantee exactly what gets shared on social media if that page or website is shared by somebody. So it's certainly useful to do if you can. And at the moment, I think that's kind of it. There's not really much point going through every single add-on. There's not really a lot of change in there. All the row settings have still got the same ones. We've still got background color, which is live. We can do an image background, gradient background. Again, these are all dynamic. I guess this is quite nice to look at live. Change all the angles around, make it quite hourable. That's all sorts of stuff. Radial, oh god no. We go vertical alignment if you want. You can do top, middle, bottom again, up to standard. Make it fluid row, so it full width of the page. Remove column gap, as far as I knew, should bring the gaps out the way of these columns, but it doesn't seem to do that. I never use that, to be honest. Maybe I should. We can still set the height of the row by whatever we want. Delete all that, don't want that in there. Width options, again, I've never used those personally myself. Box shadow on a row. Never seen that one before. At least I've never used it on a row anyway. Top shape, bottom shape. I have a feeling there are some new ones. If nobody's used these before, you can apply a vector shape, an SVG shape to the top or bottom of a row. I have a feeling that some of these, no, they're all the same. There's no new ones in there. Where's the little margin for this? Is it there? Anyway, you can apply those at the bottom and top and have zigzags and rows and whatever you want. Bring to front overlaps it over the images. You can flip it, which left to right flips it on the mirror. Section ID as always, CSS class as always. So yeah, there's not a lot of change at the moment in terms of background video support on the rows is still the same. Play whether you want to loop it. If you want to use a YouTube or Vimeo URL, set it in there. Overlay, so this is a row overlay. That's over the background, so not going to do much there. Again, alignment, all the stuff we've looked at before. So yeah, there's a fair bit in there. It's not a lot of it's changed. New image, recommend JPEG, PNG. Or is that for me? Is that a question or just general? I'm still on odds with this one. The problem or the concern I've got with WebP, although it is a lot better than PNG for images with transparency, and certainly Google PageSpeed loves you to use WebP, there's still, I don't believe, any native way of Joomla dishing out a JPEG or a PNG file to a browser that doesn't support WebP properly. So I've got one client, for example, who uses a Mac, and it's an older enough Mac, it's an older bit of hardware that their OS can't be updated to one that supports WebP. So for them, on their browser, they just see an image missing, the little cross with an image blank. I have got an extension which supposedly will handle that, but you've got to deliver the website PNG, and the extension then delivers a WebP if they can support it, and normally it won't. It will then just dish out the original if they don't. So at the moment, I'm still being very careful with use of WebP, although I do appreciate that in some instances it is a lot better to use for file size. I generally find you can also cheat. PNG I would only have ever used if there's transparency in the image. However, if that is because that image overlays onto a coloured row rather than white, or even for white, just make the background of the JPEG or the PNG or the JPEG file the same as the row background colour. But cheating, because obviously if you change the row background color, you've then got to change all of your images. But WebP, yeah, I need to look at that in more depth again, because it's still not perfect for support, and that is obviously not ideal if you've got people looking at your website and they can't see your images going on there. So that's PageBuilder 4. I guess realistically, is it that much different than the backend editor? Not really. You know, I do still kind of hark back to the layout, and it just looks a bit, I don't know. There's things I like about it more than I did before, but I would get used to this one, and we won't have a choice, let's be honest. If you want to go to PageBuilder 4, you'll have no front end, no back end editor. It'll be this one. I'm just gonna close that down for now. I'm not going to save it, and again, the problem I'm going to have is I'm going to close that down and I'm going to go to the front end again, which is not ideal. I think that should jump back to where you were before. Anyway, as a bit of an aside, if I'm going to go to content, and this is a freebie for today, I'm going to finish off in a few minutes. See, I've timed out. Interesting. I can now, if I open action items on an image, if I hover and do that one, I've got a little pencil icon. I can either share a link to it, which is interesting. I can rename it, or I can edit it. And literally now I can change the quality level. I can resize it. So I can say make it 380, and that keeps the ratio. And I can save. Voila, that's saved. I don't know whether you'd ever want to, but you can rotate it as well. Interestingly, that doesn't change that all the way across, but certainly there. So now, in the past, you had to upload the images pre-resized if you didn't want massive images on JoomShaper. The PageBuilder and Joomla did not resize them for you. Now we can crop it, we can resize it, we can rotate it from Joomla. I would love to see that option there with a pencil, if it's at all possible, brought into PageBuilder, because that would be extremely useful for a lot of my clients to do it on that one there. But there we go. That's PageBuilder 4. At the moment, I don't think there's a huge amount of difference in terms of new features beyond maybe the 6 breakpoint support. One or two little bits in there with the margins and the padding, which I suspect, if they're not intentional, they will be resolved in the future. Excuse me while I have a drink, because my voice is going a bit croaky. But overall, it is what it is. I've not done any page speed tests on it yet. I wouldn't even like to suggest that's worth doing, purely because it's literally in alpha. I would not expect the code to be significantly optimized, although I would love to see this faster at the front end than before. I know people moan about page builders. I've got sites, my own website, which I released as a fresh build again last week. That uses PageBuilder 3, Helix Ultimate 2, and I'm getting 90 to 95 out of 100 on desktop speed performance. Not so good on mobile. Oh, excuse me, dog. My dog's just yawned. A little bit of the mobile one, I've got an issue with lazy loading of images, where if I set that up in Helix Ultimate, which I do think works better, the CDN I use in the extension for the CDN and caching, it actually stops the images being loaded off the CDN and loads them back off my website, which is a little bit of a backward step. So I suspect that might be resolved in an update to either the extension or Helix. I have logged that with them and they're looking at it at the moment. But there we go. No more questions at the moment on there. So hopefully you enjoyed that one. Any questions that arise between now and next week, drop me in the comments. Other than that, thank you for coming, and I hope you enjoyed that. I'll see you next week. Thank you all. Bye bye.